Hey guys, so this is just a very quick look over one of my students, and he's probably a prime example of showing how the backswing really does have a huge influence on how we deliver the golf club into the golf ball. For me, the backswing kind of sets up a lot of what is going to happen in the downswing, and for those people who tend to say, the backswing is not really the important part, I would agree to an extent, but it does influence the downswing and how the body's going to move hugely. So Frederick is your traditional slicer, and although there are two different clubs on the screen at the moment, they're probably about a month to a month and a half apart. So traditional slicer on the left hand side, what we tended to see with Frederick was the hips would be very limited. He really didn't move the hips very well. They wouldn't really turn with him. And obviously for some people that's great to be able to limit hip turn, but really we just don't have the mobility required with Frederick to allow him to keep the hips very, very still as they pass as the club passes hand height. As a result, what we tended to see was a little bit of lift with the shoulder. We would see a kind of resistance here at this point, and really by the top of the backswing we see the body starting to stand up and extend a little bit. And the issue here is that the club ends up in this laid off position where it points out to the left of target. Now, different people will react differently, but the most common thing that I tend to see from a slightly flat shoulder playing position, kind of limited in the hips, and a club that's laid off, is that they will try to apply power, and the power is immediately going to go out and away from where the club is at the moment. So you're going to see it pull out. The club will tend to get very steep and outside the hands, and like I say, you see here a traditional out to in path with a very open face. The club as a result then starts to glance much more across the ball. You can see he's pretty much stood up at this point, and you can see almost immediately as soon as the club passes the ball or passes the tee, it's cutting low and around his body. So he has no other shape he can really hit from there other than left to right. So the feeling we wanted him to have was almost the complete opposite. So we said to him, we want him to feel like the club points across the line at the top or out to the right of target. So immediately, once he has that feeling, you'll notice that the left shoulder works down in a much better manner. You can see it here really working down. As he gets up towards the top of the swing, you'll notice the club is in a much more stable position. You can see here pointing almost at target. And while I don't fully like how narrow it gets at the top, it definitely makes it easier for him then to allow the club to shallow and fall a little bit under the shoulder. So although it's not perfect, it's not exactly where we want it, you can see here it's on a far better line comparison to the left hand side. You see as it approaches the ball, it stays nicely inside the hands, the face is in a better position, and then from there it works through the golf ball on a far more neutral path. It's almost dead straight through the ball, and you can see as a result it finishes much, much higher and much more over his shoulder. And he was hitting the ball very neutral today. Now his feel was that of a huge draw, like I say, hugely pointing across the line at the top, and then feeling like he was swinging a long way to the right. But as you can see, the result and what actually happens in the swing is far different. It's far more neutral, definitely more neutral at the top, and it helps him shallow it on the way down. So just a quick look at how the backswing really does have such a massive influence on the downswing, how it sets up what is about to happen as you change directions or transition into that downswing, and it's a good one for guys to look at.